Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of my show. Okay. Today's guest is a brother I met here in Los Angeles after he moved from Chicago to pursue his entertainment goals. I met him here in Los Angeles, and boy, has he had an illustrious career, even at this young age. Some of his accomplishments include performing improv on Black nights at the world famous Comedy Store on Sunset Boulevard. That's owned by Pauly Shore. I would go up there and have wonderful times up there. Plenty of great moments at the Comedy Store. This brother also toured with an all-Black improv troupe known as Nation of Improv. All right, and his time spent with this improv troupe led to him playing the Dozens against Jordan Black, comedian Jordan Black, on the Jimmy Fallon show. So this brother has just been, meeting goals and setting goals, meeting them, making accomplishments, and he just continues to be successful. And then, forget all that, he decided to transition into politics, and that's where he is today. He's into politics now. We're getting a transmission here, and the brother is so fantastic that he is so far out of here. He was in Chicago, he was in Los Angeles, but that wasn't enough for him. The brother is now in space. I'm picking up a signal here. Mr. Marquis. Marquis, are you there?
Hello.
Mr. Larry.
Hello, Mr. Larry Wicks. Here's coming to you from outer space.
Yes, sir.
I'm on my space station here. I actually got this one custom built. I snuck on one of Elon's rockets.
Wow.
And I was a stowaway. Who knew? And I got on, hung out. I'm actually in his Tesla that's still orbiting the Earth. That's where we're broadcast from.
Now that's the level that I want to operate on. I've got to get there to the Tesla space orbiting, realm. So,
well, at one point when I lived in Venice, California, I actually slept in an apartment, and above me was the guy who ran the remote control to do the thing out in the sea that caught Elon's rockets. That is a true story. I'm not kidding.
Oh my goodness. See? All right, guys. So Marquis, man, how you doing?
I am amazing. How are you?
Good, very good. Glad to see you, man. And I'm glad that we've remained in contact all of these years, bro, because, for everything that you have accomplished, I'm just, starstruck, awestruck, you name it. Like, yeah, go ahead, Marquis.
Oh, I was starstruck at you. You went out into the world. You went from where we were in Los Angeles, in Culver City. Then you decided, you know what? I need to broaden my horizons. And then Larry Wiggs say, yo, I'm over here in Asia teaching English. And then it was like, and you got to have all of these beautiful adventures and see all parts of the world and learn about different people that me just staying in Los Angeles for most of the last 17 years had never gotten to see. It's a powerful perspective to see that you have gained so much knowledge and so much power and so much mastery over your world by doing that, by traveling and teaching. And it's the work of Christ to do that. That's what he did. He went, he did a little traveling, hung out. I mean, they didn't have airlines back then, so he could only go with his, he had like a camel and whatnot, so you could only travel about 200 miles from like Galilee and Bethlehem. And then he popped back up and said, all right, let's do this book.
Yes. Appreciate you mentioning that, brother. Appreciate you. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the theme of these interviews, I like to, get into amazing stories and, stories that resonate with you, that will resonate with, our audience. What would you like to delve into today?
Well, my life is one of those, at some point I look at my life as a cartoon. I've done, like my first job out of college was I taught at a Last Chance High School. My second job was working for the Jerry Springer Show. So I got to see the back behind the scenes of the world's most insane talk show.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a piece of it trying to understand where I came from and in my life. I'm from the west side of Chicago. My mother had me when she was 16 years old. I didn't know who my father was until I was like 11 years old. I grew up poor. My grandmother, who is the reason why I picked up so much of my good habits, my work habits.
Yeah.
She worked at Rexnord, and sometimes she would clean houses, and she was the main force that kept food on the table. My grandfather suffered a stroke when I was young. I actually found him. I found out who my father was and found him like right after I found my grandfather dead. So it wasn't a case of, hey, I'm this guy who came with all this money and all these people that I knew that got me here. It was, I sat in a position of not having much. I read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. I set my sights on something outside of the world that I lived in, and then I just figured out each step of the way how to get there. In 8th grade, I won my science fair project back in 1992 when I built a robot. And most of the kids in my neighborhood had never even seen a robot, didn't even know what a robot was. And here I was talking about, hey, robots are going to take over. There's going to be robot cars that are driving around without drivers, and there's going to be robot doctors and all this other stuff. And, people made fun of me. The grown-ups said, all right, this kid gets to be, he wins the science fair.
Right.
But that just started out this world for me of, how do I do this thing that is far beyond this thing that's right in front of me? How do I live the kind of life and be the kind of man that any kid who comes after me could say, I want to do that, just follow my example and do it too.
Wow. So you were thinking about, legacy, but it was also a seed of curiosity. It was how do we do these things? How do I branch out? And that's phenomenal, dude.
Yeah, it's a testament to I understood the way that my mind worked at a really early age. I really understood the voice in my head, how the subconscious and the conscious kind of work together. And I consciously fed myself good information. I've gotten to do a lot of crazy and fun things that people have said are impossible, because in the end, I just knew they were all possible. You just had to figure out how to do it. When I was in high school, I was leading, I was doing, because of my amazing chemistry teacher, Mr. Lid. And for me, aside from, some of the people that I grew up with, like my grandmother, who is definitely an influence on my work ethic and cares for me to this day. My grandfather, who fought to make sure that I made it on this planet. My mother, who gave me life. And in the end, the challenges that she put me through made me tougher, so that nothing that anybody else could do could ever break me. And so, taking that as a mindset, I could go and stand in front of folks at the Adler Planetarium and tell them about science, or go and tour high schools and deliver Dr. King's I Have a Dream. I made it from high school here at Proviso East, same one as Doc Rivers and Michael Finley, and went to Northwestern University. And there I thought I was going to build robots, because that's what I want. Once what most people do is you find that one thing you do well and just keep doing it.
All right.
And for me, I lucked into failing a class, and lucked into Northwestern not being the kind of education that would have given me that direct pathway to just build robots. They actually didn't have a robotics engineering program when I got there. They were cobbling together a major of a combination of electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. and everything that they taught was very theoretical. It was a lot of the book work. I would get A's in the classes where it was mostly working with your hands and figuring it out, like circuits and stuff like that. And then not so good grades when it was just classes where it was all theoretical.
Okay.
And so I figured out, all right, what I need to do is to do the other thing that I'm good at, which is speaking. So I'd switched my major into communication studies and ended up getting an outside concentration in mathematics because, well, I can still do math really, really well. I graduated from there and worked at the Jerry Springer Show. In 2001, I was taking a couple of classes at Improv Olympic. The towers came down, and I was like, well, it's either get busy living or get busy dying. A friend of mine said, Marquis, you can come stay on my couch. And so in 2002, I set a course. I with $73 in my pocket, I got a Greyhound bus all the way cross country, took all the little 2 boxes of things I had, and slept on the couch for 3 years. I worked at Konica Minolta back when it was just Minolta, and changed the way that they did toner supply, because at the time they were just still relying on phone calls, and I switched them to email, and eventually they used that to switch to the internet. I wrote and directed and starred in my own show at Improv Olympic West. I've taken classes with some of the greatest masters of comedians that we see today. I've taken a workshop with Amy Poehler. I got to see her live.
Oh, wow.
I got to see Matt Besser and Matt Walsh build UCB from scratch. I was the door guy at IO, and then later became the house manager during the first LA Improv Festival. So I got to see when Francis and Angela Sheldon first came to LA and were amazing. I got to hug Jordan Peele and Keegan-Michael Key when they first came to LA to go and hit they start and make it. I mean, those guys are 2 of the most genuine, sweet guys you've ever seen and met on the planet. And I got to see some of the making of these great people right at the starts of their worlds.
That's wow. That is amazing, because you know, when I met you, let me set the scene. So, you know, I grew up in Los Angeles, and I had some experiences when I was very young through my martial arts training. Opportunity met preparation. I was a martial artist, and director Robert Townsend was looking for a young Black kid who knew martial arts. And my dad and Robert Townsend were working together, and my dad said, well, my son can do this. Opportunity and preparation at that point met. I got the role. You know, I was featured extra in his movie. Then I flirted with entertainment, with acting. And I had, the year after that movie, I had an agent and a manager. And I might have done, you know, 5 or 6, I might have been hired for 5 or 6 different print model gigs. But there was no career, nothing, you know, spawned, you know, after that. And after that 1 year where that contract where I had an agent and a manager, everything fizzled, and I went back to my, you know, my normal life, right? And I'll share a small story here about Ray J. We were, I was auditioning for the Sinbad show, and I was in the hallway, you know, of the Disney Studios, I believe it was, sitting across from Ray J, the young Ray J, before he was even Ray J, right? And Brandy had released her music, and Ray J was telling me, this is my job. I'm gonna get this one. It's not gonna be you, it's gonna be me. My sister's already set up in the industry. I'm coming next, and this is gonna be my position. So just fall back, brother. You know, don't even worry. Don't stress this one. You're not gonna get it. It's all me. And so I was, you know, thoroughly disappointed, because I thought everything was fair and just, you know, just give me a shot. Let me do my thing, and I'll get in there, sort of, so to speak. But he had all the confidence in the world and just, you know, shut me down. So no problem with that, happening. That was his blessing, which led to, so many other, other things for him. But here's the thing. So, after spending 1 year in the entertainment industry, looking for work and not having this wasn't my dream, but not having, my idea of success, come to fruition at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like so many other people who go to Hollywood and their dreams don't get fulfilled, and things don't work out for them. But when I met you in 2005, I saw you, and you had all of this energy, and I looked, I said, this guy is different. He definitely has a lot of energy. And I said, man, okay. So you were telling me, oh, I'm gonna be on a show. I'm gonna be at the Comedy Store. I said, all right, bro. Well, I'm gonna be there to check out the show. So I went and I watched the show, and you just continue to evolve, and you continue to continue your success, which is one thing that is something that I didn't experience while I was in, Los Angeles. And my perception was, nah, it's not going to work out that way. It's not going to be that easy. But you, based upon your tenacity, based upon your character, have been able to just continue. So, man, kudos to you for that. I see. And also, you mentioned your mind and your, tinkering ability.
Mm-hmm.
I know how, what is it? How, I know somewhat how your mind works, because we've played chess together and I can't beat you. I'm like, man, Marquis, he's full of it. I know how to play this game. Let me get him in here. And you just whooped me, and I said, oh, nah, okay, Marquis is serious. So,
well, I learned how to play chess from at a newsstand when I over on Wilshire Boulevard, on Wilshire in Detroit. It was a bunch of guys at the newsstand. Right, there's a Starbucks there now, across the street from it. There's that big apartment building that wasn't there before. And there's now going to be a train station that's going to be right there that's opening up. And it was just a bunch of guys who sat around playing chess, and good games would get played. There was an old black dude named Ray who used to come by and was one of the most amazing gentlemen I ever met. Mike, the owner of the stand, had these powerful green eyes. Him and Damon would come out, and I learned playing from there. I learned getting my butt kicked. And then there was this guy named Dave, Dave was probably homeless. We only knew a little bit about Dave. Dave was missing a couple of pieces of fingers. Dave got into it, I'm just guessing, but Dave probably was doing some chess betting, and somebody said, give me them fingers, and then cut them off. But other masters would come and try to play Dave. And I'm one of those, I'm a rabbit hole kind of guy. I say, all right, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna be the best at it. So I bought tons and tons and tons of chess books. I was catching the bus, going to Conica Minolta, coming back, getting off right there. I'd play chess until they closed the newsstand, and then I'd go home and then read chess books, or go online to chessgames.com, and then click through games of masters, so that I could rapidly scale up. I didn't want to just learn playing chess how to beat regular folks. I'm gonna study Paul Morphy. I'm gonna study Anton Karpov. I'm gonna study Staunton. I'm gonna study the masters of something in order to get there faster, and sit there and do things like, I'm gonna sit down and see this move that they did was crazy, and then try to figure out why they made it, and then keep playing it that way, where you say, okay, what's the next move? And then say, what? Until it sinks in, oh, they figured this out 3 moves ago, so I need to start figuring that out now.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it's that's sort of a metaphor for how I've lived my life, is to go dive deep on something and then make it my singular focus. Like while I was working at Konica Minolta, well, I'm not working there now, so I can say it. I figured out how to do the job that they needed me to do in the first 2 hours of the day. And then I would spend the next 6 hours of the day studying chess and writing my shows. But they were happy because they had a problem when I walked in. You know, the person that had the job before was sick. And so I took over for her role. And the way that she was doing it was kind of old fashioned. She would talk to all these folks and she built up relationships, and it had gotten backlogged. And then I retrained their customer base, got them onto email, got them onto just leaving voicemails, trained them to do it in advance so that I could make my job easier, make the technician's job easier, make everybody's job easier. And then I would go close my door and then just work and do my own thing so that I could educate myself. That's what I did in grade school. I would do my homework during school, and I never did homework at home. Once I figured out, I think it was in fourth grade, I got put on punishment. And that was before kids had laptops and tablets and everything else. And so it was one of the best punishments I ever had. It was in lieu of beating. So I read my entire science book in 2 nights. And when I went to class and saw that the teacher said what was exactly in the book, I was like, it's like I'm seeing the future. If I know everything the teacher's gonna say, like I could coast. If I read the thing before he said, and all he gonna do is say exactly what's in the book, I was like, oh my God. And so I was always a step ahead, because once I figured out the trick that the teachers are reading from the book, because most students don't read, then I would just read and then use class time to do whatever homework. And then at some point I just stopped doing homework because I was like, I'm just going to ace these tests because that's all I need to do to get the grade. And I don't like doing all that at once. I'm a stickler for not wasting my time. And once I figured out, it was like that I know how to do something. It's like I now can do differential equations. I can either do the 20 problems that this person had, or I can do the 5 hardest, understand that I know how to do the 5 hardest ones, and know that the test ain't gonna have no questions that are hard as these. And so I go on and start doing the next thing I want to do. Wow. It's also it also was a help that I never had a girlfriend. And you waste a lot of time trying to decide what y'all gonna eat when y'all sit next to each other. And I use all that time to study on something that I want to study.
Oh my goodness. Man.
Like, what you gonna eat? What do we want to eat? I don't know. What do you want to eat? I don't know. Do you want Burger King? No. All right. Do you want to go get Thai food? No. Okay, you know what? I want to go get Red Lobster. No, I don't feel like Red Lobster. I just want anything.
Now, you also are you working on? Have you completed? You're working on a manuscript, or?
I am working. I am forever work. It's funny when I got here. But when I say here, not planet, back here, back in Chicago. My grandmother keeps a lot of my old keepsakes, and one of them was I was published in the school's like publication where they took the best writings and drawings, and then they bound it and said, hey, here's our book. And I'm sitting there, it's from 1994, and I'm reading the passage where I'm saying, yeah, and I think one of those dreams I have is to write a book. And I'm like, damn, I've been putting off that dream for a long time. It's been a challenge. When I write for me and about me, there are times where there's pieces of my life that feel so unbelievable that when I read it, I don't even believe it. And it's a need to kind of push through that, because I've put myself through, like, being me is not easy. At some point, I used to weigh 360 pounds, and I lost 180 pounds with no gym membership, no call to the doctor, no illness telling me that I needed to do it, no gym membership, none of that. I just gave up bread, pasta, rice, sugar, and alcohol. I walked and did yoga and meditated. And when I
Wow.
tell people that's all I did,
Yes.
they say, I can't do that. I'm like, I did. And I've kept it off because I learned some of the secrets of how to change the way you think here. I didn't know how to lose weight, and I didn't know how to change my physical appearance and how to change the mental aspect of it in order to get there. And when I learned how to edit those things that held me back, it made it easy. But it was discipline, because it meant that every day I had to just keep doing the same things, and keep that up in order to get to the person that I wanted to be. Folks would ask, did you have a goal for how much you were going to lose? I was like, no, I'm just eating. I've gotten rid of these other things that don't serve me, and I do these other things that are good for me. And wherever it ends up is wherever it ends up. And so it was, for me, a way of having a system. And that's also the other secret that I use is I build systems. If you try to, make a change, you have to just build a habit. And if every day you can add one small thing that you do that makes your life a little bit better, and you just keep doing that one small thing and add something to that every day, then eventually you get better. That's how I learned chess. You get really good, and then every day you're like, okay, if I study for 10 minutes, or when I wanted to learn Spanish, I would pick up Duolingo and I would study for 10 minutes, and every day you get better and better and better until you get a level of fluency, and then it becomes easy.
That reminds me of what Nipsey said. Nipsey said, you can't start off, wanting to, or, planning to build a brick wall. You just have to, place a brick every day.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, through your discipline and through your hard work later, you look up and there will be a brick wall there,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
No, and I'll say Will Smith. Will Smith's, I think, father was a bricklayer. And one of the things that he learned was, you don't try to build the wall, you just lay one brick perfectly. And if every single time you pick one brick, lay down the trowel with the cement, and you lay that one brick perfectly every day, then you will soon build a perfect wall. All too often, most people get intimidated by the idea of building a wall.
Yes.
Or they just get a bunch of bricks and a bunch of cement and just throw that shit in there and then wonder, why don't they have a wall? And if they would just take the time to figure out what is the thing that you're trying to build, and make sure that when you're placing that brick, it's going to end there, because you get there. I've had 1,000 jobs. I've had 1,000 jobs, man. One of them was, I used to work for this company, Bound, that did office services for AT&T back in Chicago. It was one of my summer jobs. And you work in a warehouse and you learn you only want to touch the boxes once. You figure out where you want to put them, and then you think through the whole process, because they're heavy. You don't want to be picking it up, moving it, then put it down, then picking it up. That's how you throw out your back. That's how you do way more work than you need to. If you sit there, figure out where does everything need to go.
Yes.
Then you figure out, okay, then you need to clear a path when you're doing that. So that means you need to move those boxes first. And then you figure out the end goal, how everything is supposed to look. And then you make the massive movements to get there.
Right on, Marquis, man. Dropping gems here. Appreciate you. Appreciate you spending the time.
This is amazing.
Well, when you have the technology to reach out to outer space and send signals.
Yeah. I mean, this is the reason why I love doing these, and the reason why I love sharing knowledge is because I think, like, if you go back to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, when he's talking about heaven and hell. And in his mind, in his world of what he was talking about, heaven and hell, they didn't have an actual place called heaven and a place called hell then. It was what life is on earth. And what was most important back then was the way you treated people. And that's what Jesus was getting people back to, because your heaven and your hell is here. It's your state of mind. There's people that can live in a concentration camp and think it's the worst thing in the world, because it is. And then there's people who have lived through those same concentration camps and they found some semblance of humanity and joy and said that this too shall pass.
Yeah.
It's a state of mind. And so if you can wrap your mind around, not around the suffering, not around the pain, but find the joy, the pleasure, find the sunshine, realize that I'm still alive in this moment. And that's one of the things that gets me through this COVID. You know, for a lot of people, they have a lot of worries that are out in the world. What if I get this? What if I get that? For me, I take every moment as it is right now. The most important people to me are, you know, my own safety and my grandmother's safety and my family that is out in their places. But as they are here and as they are alive, I only focus on the things that I can do to alleviate the situation. And then everything else is just, you know, God's territory. And not like, you know, pray to God, God's gonna make it okay. God just is. My philosophy, the way God works, is God is in the winning team's locker room, God's in the losing team's locker room. God is with the guy that made the jump shot, God is with the guy who missed it. We want to just give God, like, I'm only you give all the glory to God, but, you know, God is there for all of it. God just is. And so what we feel like, and if you just take that every experience is either something that helps you get to where you want to go, or something that gives you a lesson that you needed to learn so that you would become better for that next thing that you need to climb, then you know that God is just there for all of that. And so you don't place blame on God. You also, and it allows you the freedom to just say, okay, how can I live and be the way that Jesus was? Which is, how can I spread kindness? How can I send messages to my future self about how they can be? And that's all Jesus did.
Right on, bro. We're going to end this here. Just want to say thank you so much for your time and for your words. And we'll have to get together again and do this. But this has been another episode of my show, you know, and with my wonderful guest, Marquis. Peace, brother.
Thank you. And I love that chocolate shirt.
Appreciate you. All right, Marquis.
Whoa. And then